Throughout the many tales of Yautjas, we have been told of stories from the past, from the tales of ancient warriors, hunters that turned on their leaders, and the traditions that are passed down by each generation. We know this species as predators. They are an alien race of hunters that live by their own code of honor and rules. Coming from the far reaches of space, they travel to many worlds to hunt the worthiest prey, to see who amongst them is the strongest. But what about their weapons, their society, and culture? What more can we learn about them? This video will cover 1 hour of different topics in the Predator universe. These are things I have discussed in the past. Things like their hierarchy system, members who defy the honor system and become bad bloods, the story of when Batman fought the Predator on different occasions, the most powerful Predator known as the clan leader, a look into the lore about Vasily Rykov from the 2001 game AVP2, the design and function of some of their weapons, along with some other stories. If you enjoyed these 1 hour videos, then leave a like rating. For your convenience, I will provide timestamps, so let's get started. Why do predators hunt? A look at their hierarchy and honor system. The predator race has been seen throughout many sources, and they've been known to hunt man, xenomorphs, hybrids, and other species. They come from a planet called Yautja Prime, which is ruled by elder predators. This planet is known to have 2 suns, and is within close proximity of other planets. It is here where young Yautjas are sent out in packs of 3 to partake in a traditional hunt. These 3 young hunters must learn to coordinate together, and they must slay a native creature known as a Quetzal Ridge. Now, an elder predator oversees this event, and it wears the ceremonial mask made from Quetzal Ridge bone. If the young predators manage to defeat this creature, they are accepted as legitimate hunters. This hunt is meant to teach young predators the value of teamwork and to put their hunting skills to the test. The ceremonial mask is decorated in different ways, but one of its features that carries the most significance are the 3 circles on the forehead. This symbol represents unity and teamwork, and it's also the same symbol for the predator's targeting lasers. After many years of hunting experience, these same young bloods will go through another rite of passage. They will return to one of their many sacred pyramids. During this event, they will face the xenomorph species for the first time. They are extremely dangerous. They are known to attack in groups to either kill you or to use you as a host for incubation. In this rite of passage, the young hunters must retrieve their Plasmacaster weapons. Once again, they are sent in as a pack of 3 and must work together. The xenomorph species are strong, able to climb walls, and leap great distances. Their entire body is considered to be a weapon. They have claws, a sharp tail, inner jaws, and even their death is lethal due to their acidic blood. The young predators must make their way through the pyramid as the walls shift to create new passages. Once a xenomorph is killed, the predators would mark themselves with the blood of their kill. If they survive this encounter, their mothership would return to pick them up, and their status within the clan would rise. In some cases, a predator clan may hunt together, or arrive on a planet, and each of them would hunt their own prey. Now, a clan may choose to hunt the xenomorph species together, and claiming the trophy of a queen alien is considered to be one of the highest achievements. After years of experience, a hunter may return to their homeworld and hunt a Quetzal Ridge again, but this time they will be alone. This is a very dangerous hunt for a single predator, but if they are successful, they are then allowed to separate from the clan to hunt other prey on their own. At this point, the predator has reached the status of an elite hunter, having amassed decades of experience against many types of species on various planets. These predators are considered to be very skilled in combat, weapons, and strategy. They are so experienced that one may even take an impossible task on their own. One example was the wolf predator going to Earth to stop a xenomorph outbreak caused by a pred alien. Any predator that aspires to become a spearmaster will go through their own rite of passage. A creature on their homeworld known only as a Vidrak inhabits the radioactive deserts of Yautja Prime. This radiation is strong enough to kill most life forms, but the Vidrak survives here. It is also known as the Phoenix. A predator who takes upon this rite of passage will be armed only with a spear. If the predator kills this creature, it will use its hide and mold it into armor. The skin of the Vidrak is highly resistant to fire, electricity, and radiation. Now, one of the highest positions for a predator to hold is becoming a clan leader. Some clan leaders will command small hunting parties, while others will control a mothership of hunters. Some clan leaders will partake in the hunts, while others will go on to become elders that will oversee hunts and rituals but not partake in the activities. Some elder predators may even return to Yautja Prime to rule over their planet along with others of the same rank. This role is only granted to those leaders who have shown centuries of experience in hunting, commanding a predator group, and have shown tremendous amounts of honor. Now, throughout all of their hunts, the predators are bound to a strict code of honor. While their rites of passage have limited what weapons they have access to, their normal hunts allow them to use all of their weapons. The predators are not merciless killers. They do not want to dominate the galaxy. Their species is known to have a society with rules in place. These rules are meant to keep order and balance amongst everyone. A hunter must abide by these rules. They must hunt worthy prey that is a threat to other lives and is armed and able to defend itself. One must never hurt the innocent. If they are no threat to anyone, then they are not worthy prey. This includes unarmed targets, children, or one who is dying from sickness. They must not claim the kill or trophy of another predator. Stealing a kill is seen as being too weak to kill the prey yourself. If they have to hunt for food, they are to only kill the weak. This is meant to keep the strong members alive. If a predator is defeated in a hunt, then they must take their own lives. One must keep their honor by dying in combat, instead of living with the shame of defeat. If this predator does not kill itself, then it may be assisted by someone else. If a target has been wounded by another hunter, then it must be left to die from those injuries. But if this prey still shows attempts of fighting against another hunter, then you are allowed to kill this prey, and it is then considered a joint kill. In the same event, a predator must not hunt in the territory of another hunter. This is considered stealing from their potential kills, and you can only hunt there if you're allowed by the other hunter. One must not murder another Yautja intentionally, but this can be excused if this occurs during a battle that has been agreed upon by both parties. One example is a wrestling match to settle a dispute. If a predator is defeated in battle and they are shown mercy or not killed, then your enemy is seen as your equal. You must then kill them and yourself, or you must present them with a reward for their skills in combat. If a hunter breaks these rules, they are no longer accepted within the predator society. Predators that turn against this code of honor become bad bloods, and they must be killed off. These are the ones that separate themselves and go into hiding. They are seen as honorless killers. There have been a few stories of bad bloods, but most of them are killed off during their story. So with all this information, we can see that the Yautja society is governed by an honor system, and each hunter must go through various trials in order to increase their rank. Like us humans, they hunt for sport and trophies. We see these acts as a way of increasing a strong male or female status. The act of risking one's life in combat is how the predator society chooses who becomes the leader of its people. It's these leaders who are considered to be the strongest and wisest predators that will lead a brand of young bloods into the next millennia. So that wraps up this video. We had a look at the predator hierarchy in terms of hunting, the code of honor, and their society. So what did you think about this video? And what was your favorite topic that I covered? Put your thoughts in the comment section. Predator versus bad blood. This is one of those battles that test the skills of each predator. One of them, a warrior of its clan, hunting by a code of honor and in search of a ruthless killer. The bad blood. This one has no hunting rules, and it kills on contact with any method it chooses. Which one will prove to be the superior hunter? We'll find out in this story. Now it takes place in New Jersey, where an ex-CIA agent by the name of John Polnick arrives at a crime scene. He ventures in and comes across a campsite with multiple bodies. All of them have been mutilated in gruesome ways. John then gets attacked by the bad blood, but suffers minor injuries. Then he runs and gets backup from some local officers scouring the area. They get attacked by the bad blood, and John continues to run. The bad blood runs back into the forest, and John comes across a task force from the FBI led by Agent Cloud Loudermilk. John knows this guy is actually from the CIA, and he's then charged with the murders of the people in the woods. But John pulls out a gun and escapes in a vehicle. Meanwhile, a second Predator has landed in the area in search of the bad blood. John reaches the house of an old friend named Kelso and tries to explain that he knows who the creature is in the woods, and he has its dreadlock to prove it. Kelso is unsure if he should trust John, but then more agents show up and take John into custody. It turns out that Agent Loudermilk is well aware of the Predator killing off everyone. It knows all about its weapons and camouflage technology and plans to hunt it down. Then, some old friends of John arrive and help set him free. A special task force is then sent into the woods in search of this killer. At the same time, John and his team are also searching the woods for the same target. Now, the special task force comes across a Predator spacecraft and they find more dead Predators that were killed off. One of the agents tries to access the computer console but finds that the ship was booby-trapped and it blows up, killing everyone inside. The other Predator, who was going to stop the agents from going inside, had also suffered some damage from the explosion from being a little bit too close. John's team then hears something in the trees, and a man's head is thrown in their vicinity. The team starts to shoot in all directions, but doesn't hit anything. Then, another task force team shows up, and before anyone can decide what to do, the bad blood jumps in and kills many armed people. But then, the other Predator shows up, and the soldiers shoot the wrong target. This Predator gets injured, and John jumps in to save it. The bad blood escapes into the woods, and John's men then decide to lower their firearms, as this Predator is not here to kill them. It sees they are no threat to him, and runs into the woods as it chases after the bad blood. The number of dead bodies keeps piling up, as the bad blood then locates more members of the task force, and viciously kills them. Then, the Predator tracks him down, and a battle takes place between them. The Predator uses a smart disc and speargun weapon, but is then pushed to use his combi stick against the bad blood, who is using a sword weapon. The battle lasts quite some time, and they both suffer minor injuries. Meanwhile, John's team is still in the woods, searching for this bad blood, and even 2 heavily armed helicopters are sent in from the CIA. John's team and the choppers fire upon the 2 Predators that are fighting each other, and the good one gets injured. The bad blood even throws a combi stick at one helicopter and takes it down. This gives the bad blood time to enable a beacon on the dying Predator's wrist computer to track down his ship. The injured Predator then speaks to Mandy and gives her a tracking device to locate his ship so they can stop the bad blood from escaping. As one chopper locates the bad blood, it jumps into the helicopter as it passes by and kills everyone on board. It then jumps down before it blows up and attacks John's team. Most of his team are killed off and John is attacked by the bad blood, but then Mandy shoots the bad blood and finally kills it. Then a group of Predators descends from their ship to pick up the body of the bad blood, and then they leave the planet. The story ends with a cover-up of the incident where John is blamed for the murders. Now, I kind of like this story, and seeing 2 Predators battle each other was pretty cool, although I did not like the art style that much in this one. So what do you think about the story? Did you like it? Put your thoughts in the comment section. The story of Batman vs. Predator spanned over 3 comic books. Now, the first one starts off with a boxing match between Marcus and Bersaglio. Now, 2 gang leaders are betting on their favorite fighter to win. Marcus wins the match, and later on that night, he is killed by the Predator. Batman then goes to the crime scene to investigate and realizes this murder was very different. The victim's skull and spinal cord were removed. He assumes the other gang leader was involved, but then the losing boxer of that match and other people in his gym are killed off as well. Batman meets up with a SWAT team that's been called in to assist in these murders, and the Predator kills off one of the officers in front of them. They fire upon the Predator, but can't see where it went. Batman then becomes the focus of the Predator, but is spared. He later starts to put the murders together and realizes this killer is acting upon a code of honor when it chooses its targets. The 2 gang leaders named Alex Yeager and Leo Broden agree to have a meeting and discuss about who is killing off their members. This is when the Predator crashes in and kills Alex Yeager, but it manages to escape before Batman arrives. But a trail of blood leads Batman to the Predator's location. They battle each other and Batman is severely injured. He calls in for his Batmobile and escapes with at least some knowledge of who the killer is. During this time, Batman is out of action, trying to heal from his injuries, while the Predator goes on a killing spree in Gotham. Commissioner Gordon is also attacked but survives by the aid of a fellow officer. Batman is forced to fight the Predator, despite still suffering from his injuries, and his new equipment not being fully tested. Now his new auxiliary suit gives him increased strength and improved vision to see the Predator. Batman locates the hunter, and during their battle, he used the Batmobile to transport the Predator to the outskirts of the city to continue fighting. During their long battle, Batman does trap it and even uses a tranquilizer on it. Alfred then shows up and shoots it with a gun. The Predator escapes and Batman finally tracks it down and defeats it by using a bat. Then its clan members show up and the Predator kills itself with a sword after losing to Batman. Then the elder Predator of the clan takes the sword and gives it to Batman as a token of his victory against one of their hunters. Then the clan boards their ship and leaves the planet. The story is then continued as Batman and the Huntress capture a criminal that reveals there is a price on Batman's death. So his boss hired some of the best assassins in the world to take him out. And during this event, another Predator became aware of Batman's victory over the previous hunter and has traveled to Gotham to challenge him in combat. It lands in Gotham River and kills one of the assassins and later attacks the local police department. The Huntress comes in to help but is captured by the Predator, but he spares her life as he mistook her for Batman. The Predator has taken the bat signal to a place outside the city to lure Batman. Then as Batman arrives at the crime scene, he realizes this is the work of another Predator. He heads off towards the bat signal and walks into a trap with the Predator. The two have a long battle, with Batman struggling to find a weapon to use against him. Batman gets overpowered by the Predator and is knocked out. Then another assassin arrives and plans to kill Batman to collect a bounty on his death, but he is killed off by the Predator. Then the Huntress arrives to save Batman and they escape. As Batman comes up with a plan to hunt the Predator, he builds a scrambler device that nullifies the creature's stealth camouflage. He meets up with the Huntress again and they approach Terraro, who hired the hit on Batman, but then the Predator locates them and kills Terraro. Batman then locates a body of a Predator and is confronted by another one who picks up the body and leaves. This means there is one Predator that is killing off their own species and is also hunting Batman. Commissioner Gordon then plans to use the bat signal to lure the creature to them, and as it appears, they fire upon it but realize it's the wrong Predator. It escapes while the real killer finds them and starts attacking the police officers and takes one as a hostage. It's later tracked down to his ship, and both Batman and the Huntress are lured inside and the ship takes off. A battle ensues and the hostage tries to help but is killed in the process, but actually succeeds in impaling the combi stick into the Predator's chest. Then, out of desperation, it gains control of the ship and tries to leave the planet, but Batman and the Huntress fall out of an open door and land in the water. The previous Predator chases after this bad blood in his own ship and destroys it, but then two explosions are seen, indicating that both of them have died. The last story continues, with the city still suffering from gang wars. More mysterious deaths show up around the city, but this time, two Predators arrive and start killing off these criminals. It appears that an older hunter and a younger one are working together during their hunt. At the same time, Robin is now aiding Batman during his adventures, but is kept in the dark about the identity of the new killers in the city. Meanwhile, Mr. Freeze plans a robbery and manages to escape. As Batman pursues him, the Batmobile is put out of commission by Mr. Freeze and his henchmen. Mr. Freeze escapes to a frozen foods warehouse and they are attacked by two Predators. His crew is killed off, but Mr. Freeze is invisible to the Predator due to his body being cold. Batman chooses to keep Robin out of this mission so he doesn't become a target. Later on, Batman uses a helicopter to track down the Predators and injures one of them, but as they separate, one of them damages the helicopter and Batman is forced to eject. While this is occurring, Robin tracks down Mr. Freeze and questions him about his encounter with the enemy that killed his crew earlier. Robin also managed to learn some information about these previous hunts through government files with the aid of Barbara Gordon. As Batman still advises Robin to stay out of this case, Robin is seen by two Predators. Batman adjusts his new power suit to conceal his body heat by appearing as cold temperatures on the outside, thus making him invisible to the Predator's heat vision. He was also able to shut down Wayne Tech temporarily to use it as a battleground, but manages to only lure one Predator. During this battle, this Predator plays back some words in Robin's voice. It's now clear to Batman that Robin is being hunted as well. Alfred contacts him to warn him, and he manages to escape an attack from the other Predator. Robin makes it back to the Batcave and is followed and attacked. The Predator is about to drop Robin into a hole, but then Batman appears. He gives his hunter a trophy the other Predator had acquired on a previous hunt, indicating that he was defeated by Batman, and the Predators had lost this battle. Now the younger Predator was going through a rite of passage, and Robin was to be his target. The two Predators then leave the planet, and Batman hopes their loss in battle will keep them from returning. So that covers the 3 comic books of Batman vs. Predator. I thought they were written pretty well and the art was really good. I like how they used some previous information as a way of linking the stories together. So what did you think about this? Did you like it? Put your thoughts in the comment section. Prince Predator was a hunter featured in the 2001 video game Aliens vs. Predator 2. His story started 19 years ago on a jungle planet called Hierachy. He attacked a Yautja outpost, killing everyone except Vasily Rykov. During this encounter, Rykov was severely injured and was paralyzed. Now after this event, Rykov grew a hatred for the predator species and had to undergo surgery. He was given a synthetic spinal cord, but was required to take drugs off the black market just to be able to function on a daily basis. These 2 characters would meet again in the future during the events of Aliens vs. Predator 2. Now this Predator's hunting clan traveled to the planet LV-1201 to respond to a signal sent from an ancient predator. As his clan arrives on the planet, Rykov, who is now a general for the Yautja Corporation, is aware of these predators. He sends a containment team to capture them with the use of EMPs. Now Prince sets out to save his clanmates. As he ventures through the jungle, he becomes aware of the xenomorphs are also present on his planet. He then battles a Praetorian and kills it. He then finds himself at the forward observation pods, guarded by turret sentries and combat synthetics. He infiltrates the base and kills a number of corporate soldiers and synthetics, but walks into a trap and is captured. Rykov takes Prince's biomask as a trophy and assumes they are safe for now. As he wakes up, the scientists in this lab are then killed off by the alien warrior who is part of the story, and the marine Harrison, who is also captured, ends up freeing Prince before he escapes as well. Prince then recovers his clanmate's biomask and finds most of his weapons. He also discovers a dead clanmate on an operating table. He makes his escape by jumping on top of a dropship and forces it to land. Now located in a new area, he sets off and battles many aliens with the use of the Plasmacaster. He also battles 2 Pred-aliens and kills them along with another Praetorian. The remainder of his clan arrives in their warship and shoots down a human dropship. One of his clanmates meets up with him and arms him with a smart disc weapon. As it continues on, he enters a facility and kills many humans and aliens, but also locates another fallen predator that left behind the plasma pistol. At this point, Rykov enters the hive while using an armored exosuit fitted with powerful weapons. He keeps Prince's biomask as an attempt to lure the hunter to him. Rykov goes deeper into the hive, killing many xenomorphs easily with the use of his exosuit, and awaits the hunter's arrival. Prince enters the hive, and it is filled with many xenomorphs like facehuggers, runners, warriors, and another Praetorian. Prince eventually meets up with one of the Queen aliens. He uses all of his weapons and skills to defeat it and continues on. The hunter finally locates Rykov and they battle each other. Even though Rykov's exosuit has powerful weapons, he is unable to overcome the hunter's advanced technology and hunting skills. Rykov's exosuit is destroyed and he is seen crawling, but Prince kills him. He reclaims his honor by retrieving his original biomask and rips out Rykov's spine and takes it as a trophy. His clan ship is then seen pursuing the USS Verloc in search of their next hunt. So that was the story of Prince in the video game Aliens vs. Predator 2 from 2001 on PC. Now this brought back a lot of memories for me. I actually ran into a lot of OG people from this community that found me through my videos because I've had this online name for over 15 years. Now I even remember the days back when AVP News was the pinnacle of everything related to Alien and Predator back in like 1999 when the first AVP game was released on PC. Now although AVP News did shut down, the community then migrated over to Planet AVP, and that eventually died out when GameSpy servers no longer hosted websites. So after that, the AVP community has been somewhat spread out. Now doing this video felt really nostalgic, so I'm happy to add it to my list. Although AVP 2 had its day in the sun a long time ago, some of the OG members like myself are still around. Now I'd like to thank Sadagoat for sending me the AVP News logos. He was the administrator of the old AVP News website from back in the day. So what did you think about the story around the Prince Predator in this game? Did you like it? Put your thoughts in the comment section. This character, only known as the clan leader Predator, is presumed to be the supreme leader of Yautja Prime. Some might even call him the Grand Elder. Supposedly, he has ruled for centuries and was seen as the wisest and strongest leader when compared to other elders. He has many legendary tales about his superior hunting record and fighting skills. Throughout these accomplishments, he has achieved the highest position in the Yautja society. Now, some predators in the past have tried to assassinate him and even tried to start an uprising to overthrow him, but all of these attempts have failed. He is seen as an impenetrable force and has earned the respect of many of his followers. His many stories strike fear into his enemies, and not all of them are brave enough to challenge him. Many stories about him have circulated around the predator society, and he is rarely seen by anyone. Although it is unproven, rumors have said he is immortal and possesses unnatural strength and abilities. Amongst using the standard predator weapons we've all known, he has the addition of using mechanical tendrils that attach to his forearms and shoulders. It is unknown if these tendrils are under his mind control or if they are automated. These tendrils can be used for great offensive strategies and also for defensive purposes. Although the story about this clan leader comes from a description about the toy designed by NECA, it has never been seen in any other source, but it does make us wonder how far a predator can reach and what technology they would apply to their hunting methods. Now, I normally don't do videos on characters that are just based off toys, but I kept getting a lot of requests for this one, and I can see why. And judging by its description, this predator is supposed to have reached the highest level within their society in terms of hunting skills, technology, and their hierarchy positions. Now, the mask looks very nice. It kind of looks like a mix of a dragon and a samurai together. But the big thing here are those tendrils. It's something really obscure for a predator to have, but I guess it's because we've never seen something like this before. So it was based upon a design by the clan leader Predator made by Kenner back in the 1990s. So what do you think about the Predator clan leader and his description? Put your thoughts in the comment section. The Chopper Predator was another Yautja in the 2004 movie Alien vs. Predator. He traveled to Earth to partake in a rite of passage with two other predators known as Celtic and Scar. Their pyramid was underneath 2,000 feet of ice on Buvatoya Island in Antarctica. This ritual is part of the Yautja society, and all young bloods will eventually go through this to become blooded. Survival is never guaranteed, and this would be the first time each predator would fight a xenomorph. So whatever skills they learned in hunting other species will be put to the test against these xenomorphs. As their mothership approached Earth, it used a laser beam with massive amounts of heat to create a path down to the pyramid. Now, the pyramid had previously started up, and it was this heat bloom that was picked up by Mr. Weyland's satellite. He rounded up a group of experts from different fields to join him on this expedition. When they arrived at the whaling station, they went down the shaft created by the Predator mothership in search of whoever might have created this path. Now, Chopper, Celtic, and Scar start to arm themselves with their weapons and equipment, as their time to prove themselves has arrived. Their mothership passes over the whaling station, and 3 drop pods are sent down. As the pyramid prepares for the arrival of the predators, a frozen queen alien is brought up and thawed out by the nearby heat. She then returns to her egg-laying phase. The trio of predators then make their way to the whaling station, and they kill off everyone part of Weyland's team. Some humans are left hanging, while others are killed off in a storage house. But one human named Quinn is found walking around and uses a pistol to uncloak Celtic. These two have a brief encounter, and Quinn is knocked down the shaft, but is killed later on by Scar. At this point, one group of Mr. Weyland's team remains in the sacrificial chamber to catalog everything, but Mr. Weyland and his group proceed on. This team reaches a room with Plasmacaster weapons belonging to the 3 predators. As they remove these weapons, it activates the pyramid to shift its inner walls. This then starts a cycle of alien eggs being transported to the sacrificial chamber where one group is trapped. They all become hosts for facehuggers, and a group of xenomorphs are born. Seeing that their weapons were taken by the humans, the 3 predators race inside the pyramid. They ambush the group one time as they kill off 2 humans. Then, as the humans are separated, the predators split up with Chopper and Celtic going one way and Scar traveling alone. Celtic and Chopper plan another ambush on Weyland, Max, Lex, and Sebastian in another room. Celtic uses the net gun to trap Max and then kills him with a spear. Meanwhile, Chopper puts his attention on Lex and kicks her up against the wall. He then plans to use his scimitar blades to kill her, but he's impaled in the back by the grid alien's tail. He is pulled up and comes face to face with a xenomorph for the first time, but his injury was too severe that he had little strength left inside him. He is then killed off by the grid alien's inner jaw, and this is where the story of Chopper Predator ends. Now, the other name he was known for was Gill Predator because of the pattern on his mask, but the name Chopper was given to him because of the large bladed weapon under his arms, which is called the scimitars. Now, the super predators in the movie Predators had used a similar design for the wrist blades, only having one long blade, so it's possible they could resemble the scimitar that Gill used. Now, he had a pair of human skulls mounted on his back, which indicates he has hunted on Earth before. And in the game Predator Concrete Jungle, the maul weapon also resembled scimitar blades in some way. So what did you think about the Chopper Predator? Do you think he should have had more time in the film? Put your thoughts in the comment section. The Predator Speargun is another weapon that's been seen across various sources, and although its design has been changed slightly, its use has remained the same. This weapon was seen on film in Predator 2 during the battle against the Jamaicans in the penthouse belonging to Ramon Vega. It was used on a target and a headshot led to instant death. These spear tips are made from an unknown material that does not come from Earth. It was described as being very lightweight and was able to cut like steel. If enough force is used, this weapon can rip through flesh and shatter bone. It's also known to cause intense bleeding, which can slowly kill some targets. Now, in the movie Predator 2, it was fired from the right gauntlet around the wrist area. You can see the wrist blade would be at the top, and on the bottom is a slot for the speargun shot. Since this weapon was mounted on the right gauntlet, it is believed that ammunition will be scarce, and reloading this in combat is not an option. Therefore, the weapon is used once, and the spear tip must be retrieved after battle. Now, the weapon that was used on Blaine and Predator was a mystery. You could say it resembles the wrist blades that might have been fired in the same manner as in the 2004 movie Alien vs. Predator by Scar, but you could also say it might be a speargun shot. It's really hard to tell since both weapons were used in later films. Now, the fact that this image is distorted could have been intentional, just to leave more mystery to what this weapon was in Predator. So that topic is still debatable, but my guess is I think it was a speargun shot. Now, in the video game Alien vs. Predator in 1999, the speargun had a sniper scope for zooming in, which could improve accuracy, but this variation did not use spear tips. It would use large harpoons. This version was incredibly powerful that can tear off limbs, and it can even lead to instant death. The large harpoons could not be retrieved, but there was a speargun ammo pickup that was never fully used in the final version of the game. The limited ammunition was possibly a way of trying to balance the weapon out, but even so, it still ended up being a very strong weapon in this game. Now, in the 2001 video game Alien vs. Predator 2, the speargun returned with a similar design, but it used the classic spear tip projectile. Its primary function would use one shot. It had great accuracy and was best used for headshots, but the secondary fire would launch 3 spear tips in a random but close range to each other. It would provide more damage, but at the cost of having less accuracy. The spear tips in this game could be retrieved and used to refill the speargun's ammunition. This weapon was also seen in the video game Predator Concrete Jungle. This speargun had a different design, but could also hold more ammunition, and the projectile looks like small harpoons. So that covers the speargun. Which design is your favorite, and what do you think about this weapon? Put your answers in the comment section. The story of Vasily Rykov starts back in the year 2211 on the planet Korari. During this time, he was a colonial marine and was attacked by a predator when he was at a Yautja facility. This attack left him paralyzed, and Rykov had to undergo surgery to get a synthetic spinal cord. But he was also forced to take drugs off the black market that were possibly painkillers. After this event, Rykov grew a hatred for the predator species. These two characters would meet again 19 years later during the events of Aliens vs. Predator 2. Later on in his life, Rykov was now a general that commanded the Iron Bears and worked for the Yautja Corporation. He was stationed on the planet LV-1201. When a group of predators arrived in the Zeta region, he sent out a containment team armed with EMPs to capture the predators. He used his scientists as bait to capture 2 of them, but another one was not in the area. This predator would then track his fallen brothers to the forward observation pods, a heavily protected research facility. Now, upon arriving at the pods, this predator would infiltrate the base but walked into a trap and was captured. At this point, Rykov took his biomask as a trophy. According to some research on the biomask, it turns out this one is more ornamental. It appeared to be different than the other 2, but was also similar in some way. It was also older and more complex than the others he's seen. Rykov recognized the markings on this predator's biomask and realized it was the hunter he battled 19 years ago. His scientists also speculate that this predator was possibly part of a royal bloodline, maybe even a prince. Rykov was planning to create a biological weapon like anthrax and inject it into Prince, hoping this predator would bring this virus back to other members of his species and cause an outbreak to kill them off. However, this plan was cut short when a containment breach occurred and xenomorphs caused chaos within the facility. It turns out that Rykov has an ongoing quarrel with Dr. Eisenberg. Rykov does not want to risk the lives of his men just for the science that Eisenberg would get from xenomorph research. Then a team of colonial marines makes it to the pods and meets up with Rykov and Eisenberg. With a few of Rykov's men not reporting in, he assumes the marines have killed off some of his men. But the conversation is then brought up with the marines wanting to make contact with the primary observation complex. They allow Private Andrew Harrison into the facility, but he is betrayed when the corporates block out his communications and he's taken as a prisoner. When Harrison escapes, he frees Prince Predator and they both go their own ways. Then Prince escapes the pods and Rykov realizes the biomass became activated and is possibly acting as a beacon and being tracked. Rykov plans to use the biomass to force the Predator to find him, so he takes an exosuit and heads towards the hive. His plan is to lead any predators to him so his team can escape with the blood work to create a possible virus against the predators. Now Rykov is eventually tracked by Prince deep within the hive, and this is where Rykov meets his fate. The creature he met 19 years ago had returned, and this time only one would survive. Rykov is killed in this battle, and his spine is ripped out by Prince. During his last note to Dunya, if he killed this predator, he had planned to reach the old access point number 3. But if he did not make contact with his team, she is authorized to take the money he has and create the weapon. And so the story of Vasily Rykov ends here in Aliens vs. Predator 2. Now the best part about Rykov's story was when he actually had a past encounter with Prince and they met again for this storyline. Now I didn't really see Rykov as a true villain because he actually cared for the lives of his men. He was just ordered to do things from those above him. Although he did die in the storyline, I did enjoy learning about him. So what did you think about Rykov's story in Aliens vs. Predator 2? Did you like it? Put your thoughts in the comment section. The shoulder cannon, also known as the Plasmacaster, is another iconic weapon of the Predator species. This weapon makes an appearance in almost every place the Predator has been featured in. This weapon is mostly seen mounted on the Predator's left shoulder. It fires a heated ball of plasma that can cause considerable damage to a target. And if a target is not protected, it can lead to instant death with devastating results. Blaine was a victim to this powerful weapon in the first Predator movie, blasting into his back and burning his flesh and exploding outward through his chest. This resulted in massive tissue and bone damage. Surely an instant death in this situation. Now, if a target is not killed instantly with the first shot, it could be critically wounded and left with very little chance of surviving any future attacks by the Predator. This example was shown when Dylan got his arm blasted off. This weapon was proven to be fatal if the target is hit on the head with it. The shoulder cannon can be used in connection with the advanced targeting device included inside the biomask. Once the target has been locked on, the shoulder cannon will fire at this location even if the Predator is looking the other way, as it was shown in Predator 2. Now, we've seen some variations of the Plasmacaster, like the standard one that was seen in Predator. Then the Super Predators were using a modified version that shot at a much quicker rate from a spinning barrel tip. Now, in the movie Alien vs. Predator Requiem, the Wolf Predator acquired a second cannon from a previous fallen Predator. This gave him increased firepower and the ability to target 2 enemies at once. Now, some sources say that the Predators featured in the 2004 movie Alien vs. Predator each had their shoulder cannon modified to be different. Now, even though Scar was the only one to use this weapon, the third type of cannon was listed as being able to vaporize targets with a railgun beam. Now, in the video games, it is shown that the Plasmacaster shot can be charged up to release an even deadlier shot, while consuming more of its energy supply and taking a little longer to set this attack up. This shot can be extremely devastating. A direct shot can be equal to the explosive power of a grenade, resulting in the target being blown to pieces or around half of its body remaining behind. This effect was shown in Predators when Nolan died by the tracker Predator. A single shot blasted Nolan to pieces, with nothing but pieces of flesh left behind. Now, for being such a powerful weapon, it does come with some faults. A target can track the Predator's position either from seeing where the plasma shot came from, or by the red tracking lasers. One other drawback about this weapon is that constant use without a rest period can result in the device overheating, which could lead it to being inoperable for some time. In the event of the Plasmacaster becoming damaged, some Predators may choose to take what's left of the device and build it into an energy pistol, as it was shown in the movie Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Although not as efficient as the shoulder cannon, it does show that the shoulder cannon itself can still be operable in some fashion if it's partially damaged. Now, the only time a Predator will use dual shoulder cannons is if there is a great threat that is hard to control. The Wolf Predator in AVP Requiem did use dual shoulder cannons, as he was the only Predator trying to contain the Xenomorph outbreak. Another version of the dual shoulder cannon is displayed in the video game Alien vs. Predator Extinction. A Blazer Predator uses a modified shoulder cannon that emits a laser beam of constant heat that also sets targets on fire as it cuts through them at the same time. So what do you think about this weapon, and is it one of your favorites? Do you prefer to call it shoulder cannon or Plasmacaster? Put your thoughts in the comment section. Scar Predator was featured in the 2004 movie Alien vs. Predator. He was part of a trio of young bloods that traveled to Earth to participate in a rite of passage. The other two Predators that joined him were Celtic and Chopper. Their pyramid was located underneath Yautja Island in Antarctica. This ancient ritual would pit them against the xenomorph species, and if they succeed, they would become Blood Yautjas. As their mothership approached the planet, it released a laser beam with massive amounts of heat that created a path to reach the pyramid beneath the ice. Their mothership passed by the whaling station, and they approached the site in drop pods. It turns out the humans were lured here by a heat plume that was picked up by Mr. Whalen's satellite. The heat plume was caused by the pyramid activating. When the three Predators reached the drilling site, they killed off all the humans here. Even though Rustin Quinn escaped by sliding down the drilling shaft, he was killed later on by Scar. As they approach the pyramid, their wrist computer shows humans taking their Plasmacasters, so they split up and hunt them down. The removal of these Plasmacasters results in the pyramid walls shifting from inside. This would close off any previous exits and form new paths to explore. The constant shifting walls from within would become a maze for anyone trapped inside. As a queen alien is brought up from being frozen, the heat inside the pyramid brings her back to her egg phase. Multiple facehuggers then attack one expedition group, and the chestbursters are born. This then makes way for multiple xenomorphs. The remaining humans are tracked down, and one human is killed by a noose weapon, while Bass is killed by Scar with a spear weapon. As the walls inside start to shift again, the humans are separated. Later on, two Predators, Celtic and Chopper, attack Mr. Whalen's group, and Max is killed off. This is when the Grid Alien kills Chopper and battles against Celtic, but this Predator dies during this battle. Scar is now the only Predator alive after this and tracks down Mr. Whalen, Sebastian, and Lex. He's attacked by Mr. Whalen, but spares him due to the cancer in his body already killing him. But Whalen uses a handheld flamethrower on Scar and is then killed by this Predator with the wrist blades. Scar chases after Sebastian and Lex for his Plasmacaster, but they escape. He is then ambushed by a facehugger and warrior alien, but he kills them both with the shuriken weapon. He removes a facehugger's limb and marks himself with their acid blood, thus becoming a Blood Yautja. But then another facehugger jumps him during this vulnerable time, and he is impregnated. When Scar awakens from his short sleep, he puts his mask back on and continues to track down Lex and Sebastian for his Plasmacaster. But Sebastian is then captured by an alien and taken away for incubation. Scar tracks down Lex, and she returns the Plasmacaster back to him. They are both then attacked by a group of warrior aliens led by the Grid Alien. Scar uses the shoulder cannon to fight them off, but they retreat to aid the Queen Alien. During this time, Lex had managed to kill a xenomorph by using the Predator spear weapon. Scar allows Lex to join him in their escape and makes her a shield out of the alien's head and a spear weapon out of its tail. Scar and Lex then walk into a room with other alien hosts, and Sebastian is shot by Lex. Scar then catches the chestburster that comes out and snaps its neck. At this time, any surviving aliens then assist in freeing the Queen, and she escapes to the surface. Scar then leaves his self-destruct device in this area, and the two of them run to an exit. Scar is attacked once more, but is aided by Lex and they make their escape up the drilling shaft. As the explosion destroys the pyramid, it causes many areas on the surface to cave in, but the two of them reach a safe distance. Scar then marks Lex with the same symbol he got during this battle. Right after this, the Queen alien arises in the distance and they are forced to battle. Scar uses his wristblade launcher and shuriken weapon on her, but is thrown away by the Queen's tail. The Queen closes in on him, about to strike a fatal blow, but Lex rushes in to attack the Queen by using the alien tail weapon. The Queen chases Lex to a huge container, and Scar jumps in and stabs the Queen in the head with the spear weapon. She falls back in pain, and this gives Scar and Lex time to tie her chains up to the fallen container. Scar is then impaled by the Queen's tail, but Lex pushes the container to fall over the edge, and the Queen is pulled down as Scar is thrown away. Now, although Scar killed many aliens during his rite of passage, he died from his injuries. His clan then arrived to pick up his body and leave the planet. As they place his body on a ceremonial table, a Pred alien erupts from his chest, and this is where the story of Scar Predator ends. Now, a similar design of Scar was seen in the video game Predator Concrete Jungle, but it went by the name of Alien Hunter Antarctica 2004, and his mask was seen in the movie Aliens vs. Predator Requiem as Wolf reached for his mask on the wall. It can be seen on the left, and the blooded symbol can be seen on his mask, but this was only just an Easter egg. So that wraps up the story of Scar Predator from the movie Alien vs. Predator in 2004. So what did you think about his story? Did you like it? Put your thoughts in the comment section. The story begins on the planet BG-386, when Carl Wayland opens the door to a Yautja pyramid, which releases a powerful electromagnetic pulse wave, which shuts down the entire research facility. When they lose power, their captured aliens, along with the matriarch, escape from captivity. The matriarch makes it to the refinery and starts a hive in the lower levels. This then causes a xenomorph outbreak. Meanwhile, on another planet, Dark goes through various trials in part of his training. His training is overseen by a few elite predators such as Wolf, Spartan, and Hunter. He masters melee combat and the use of the Plasmacaster. After he completes his training, he and two other predators are dispatched to BG-386 to investigate a distress call that was sent by a previous hunting party of young bloods. They were taking part in their first hunt there, until they were all killed. Before they are sent to the planet, a massive predator ship closes in on the planet and destroys a colonial marine ship in space. These three predators are sent to various parts of the planet, and Dark is dropped off in a jungle. Along his way through this area, Dark encounters multiple marines and xenomorphs. He manages to locate one dead predator and sets off its self-destruct device. He eventually locates a high-ranking human and claims its head and uses it to unlock doors that either use facial recognition or a retinal scanner. As he ventures forward, fighting more aliens and marines, he finds a second fallen predator. Dark takes its remaining proximity mines and sets off its self-destruct device as well. He then arrives at the refinery and sees the abomination creature, also known as the Pred alien. It makes a brief appearance and runs inside the facility. Determined to destroy this new creature, Dark follows it. Deep within the refinery, he finds more marines are still stationed in this area and kills them all. As he continues on, he battles more aliens the further he goes down. Now, in the lower level of the refinery, Dark locates a dead queen who is slowly burning away. This queen was killed by a lone marine that previously came through this area. Moments later, Dark finds a third dead predator and claims the smart disk weapon, and then sets off this predator's self-destruct device. At this point, the refinery has been transformed into a hive and has more aliens dwelling in the lower levels. Dark is able to fight them off and finds his way out. Now out of the hive, Dark finds himself in front of an ancient ruin and the entrance that leads to a sacred predator chamber. But first, he must fight his way through more aliens that have made their way here. He activates doors that are locked by switches that require the use of his wrist blades. Deep within, he is able to recover the ancestral biomask that once belonged to a legendary Yautja warrior. As Dark puts on the mask, a holographic recording is displayed. It shows the very first time a Yautja killed a xenomorph. His next goal is to locate the ancient wrist gauntlet, but he learns it was stolen by humans that invaded their sacred pyramid. This ancient wrist gauntlet can be used to destroy the pyramid and purge it of all xenomorph and human life that invaded it. Dark must now locate this item and reclaim it. Dark makes his way deeper through the ruins and is then locked in a combat arena against a Praetorian and its younger minions. He is able to defeat it alone and then claims the combi stick waiting for him at the top. After making his way through the ruins, he finds himself outside the Blood Yautja facility, which was built on top of the Yautja pyramid. This area seems to be heavily guarded and access to various areas is restricted, but with the aid of claiming another head of a high-ranking human, this gives him access to more areas of the facility. Now deep within the human structure, Dark is able to locate the ancient wrist gauntlet and manages to escape by an elevator that brings him to the lowest level of the pyramid. As Dark arrives, he catches a glimpse of a holographic record of the very first time an alien queen was captured by the predators. As xenomorphs try to attack him, he quickly defeats them all and continues on. Dark later learns that the legendary hunter's body was buried deep within the pyramid. As he approaches the coffin, he places the ancient wrist gauntlet on it and sets it to self-destruct. As he makes his way down the stairs, he is attacked by the abomination, and they are both thrown into a final battle in a pit full of molten lava. This would be a fight to the death. Now during this battle, Dark gains the upper hand through his skill, mastery of weapons, and courage. He defeats the abomination and drags its corpse to the top of the research facility. At this point, he throws its corpse over the edge in a display of his strength, but he also chooses to not claim its skull. With his mission complete, his predator mothership arrives to pick him up. He is greeted by other predators that bow in his presence as he boards the ship. The pyramid is then buried in an explosion, and the Blood Yautja facility is also destroyed. At this point, Dark craves to hunt more xenomorph prey, and his skills have shown he is worthy to lead. He sets a new travel point for the ship. Its new coordinates are set to Xenomorph Prime, the alien homeworld. Now, this is a game I featured on my channel for the past 7 years, so eventually I had to cover Dark's story. On top of that, I was getting a lot of requests to do this video ever since I did that video called Who is the Strongest Predator? So what did you think about the story of Dark in the AVP game in 2010? Put your thoughts in the comment section. The Predator is a hunter species that travels the galaxy in search of the most worthy prey to hunt. They have a high code of honor and are technologically advanced. They have barbaric bladed weapons to the truly lethal weapons like the Plasmacaster, Nightgun, and Smart Disc. There are many clans that hunt on various planets, and some predators are skilled enough to hunt alone. Now, in the story of Mortal Kombat X, it is said that the Predator does not wish to rule a land or its people. It does not seek to destroy realms like gods have in this universe. The Predator is here to fight and kill, only for sport and honor. There is plenty of combat in Earthrealm. Now, elder gods like Shinnok and Shao Kahn were conquerors, but they were also defeated. The Predator will not be defeated. He plans to fight many opponents like humans, Outworlders, and demons, but they will all eventually lose to superior technology, weapons, tactics, and strengths. Their bodies will be skinned, and their trophies will be collected. The Predator has brought equipment and weapons, such as the biomask, body armor, wrist blades, stealth camouflage, proximity mines, Plasmacaster, Smart Disc, Medicomp, and the self-destruct device. During its time on Earthrealm, the Predator defeated all of its opponents. Many of them were skilled warriors and made for excellent sport for the hunter. Some warriors also used a power that was unknown to their species, sorcery. The Predator planned to harness this power and use it for future hunts. Now, during a recent battle, he was able to acquire a trophy from a defeated opponent. He analyzed this item and discovered the secrets about sorcery. Now, combining this new power with his current technology and hunting skills, the Predator had become the ultimate hunter. So what did you think about the Predator that was featured in Mortal Kombat X? Do you think it was a good representation of the hunter we've seen in the movies? Put your thoughts in the comment section. Predator Origins. The four-armed Predator was seen in the comic book sequel of Predators that featured the characters Royce and Isabel. Now, I covered this comic book a while ago, but one of the biggest questions about this story was about the massive Predator with 4 arms. Now, the comic book did not mention how this Predator grew to be so huge and why it had 4 arms. During the story, it just showed up and started attacking Royce and Isabel. Now, it was dropped off on the game preserve by a Predator ship, and it began its hunt right away. It also knew how to use its wrist computer to activate its stealth camouflage, so in that sense, it seems like it was not exactly a mindless killing machine, despite how hostile it was shown to be. So it's clear that it had some level of intelligence, but was it genetically created by the Predators, or was it some sort of mutation? This was left unanswered throughout the story. Now, in another comic book that featured the Predator named Ahab, he fought against a warrior species that had 4 arms. This encounter happened in the year 2107 on a different planet. This species proved to be physically strong, and although Ahab fought 2 of them at once, he did suffer a big injury of losing his right eye. But despite this happening, he still managed to win this battle and ripped out the spine of one of them. Now this brings me back to how the 4-armed Predator was created. It makes me wonder if the Yautjas considered taking the DNA of this creature, or perhaps another creature, and merging it with the Yautja DNA to create something bigger. Now, although this does sound like a logical theory, the main problem here is that Predators see other versions of their race as abominations. They are a race of hunters that follow a strict honor code, and they despise seeing their species merge with another one, which is why they hate the Predalien so much and it must be killed off. The Predators do not want to see their bloodline pass over to another species. They prefer to keep their species clean and pure. But this leaves us wondering how the 4-armed Predator was created. Do you think someone else made it, and then it was captured by the Predators and they trained it to use their technology? Or maybe this could have been a one-time procedure from the Predators doing their own research just to see what they could create. So we're kind of stuck in which way to decide. So the Predators don't want their species changing, yet this Predator had 4 arms and can use Predator technology and wrist blades. And the fact that this Predator showed intelligence kind of hints that it has some sense of understanding language, so it's possible it could have been created by the Predators. But what about a mutation? What if it was a normal Predator that mutated in some way? Things like radiation have affected other creatures in the past to create deformities or unnatural limbs on the body. Is it possible this Predator was once a normal hunter and then happened to mutate from an outside source? It's a possibility. Now, in another comic book, a Predator was bitten by Eldon, who was infected by the black goo that the engineers created. So this infection spread through the Predator's body and caused him to mutate into a hulking beast with increased strength, and at this point, it had very little sense of intelligence or reasoning. It even fought against another Predator and killed it easily. So would the Yautja species intentionally create a genetically enhanced Predator to test it out in battle, or was it a mutation? Although there is no actual answer to this question from a source, it leaves us with a very conflicting topic, just because the Predators do not like hybrids or new Predator types that don't follow their natural evolution process. So what do you think the answer to this question is? Was the 4-armed Predator genetically enhanced by the Predators, or was it a mutation caused by something beyond their control? Now let's say it was created genetically. Who else would do this? Well, maybe the Super Predators did. They are known to have very little honor, and they follow no rules in hunting, so perhaps this is another area we can look at. They might have created it to fight against Royce and Isabel. Since these Predators no longer follow the code of honor, I think they would have no problem creating this creature. Even though its face does not resemble the same design of the Super Predators, it could have already been designed for combat and aggression while looking different. So what do you think the answer to this question is? Was the 4-armed Predator genetically enhanced by someone, or was it a mutation caused by something beyond their control? Put your thoughts and ideas in the comment section. The story of Scarface dates back to the year 1930. His hunt took place in New Way City, and it is here where the humans called him the New Way Devil. During this time, he stalked a gang member named Bruno Borgia, who thought of himself as the god of gangsters. He killed Bruno Borgia and approached his wife Isabella and stared at her as she held her newborn son, Hunter Borgia. She then pulled out a pistol and shot this Predator in the left eye. His blood splashed on Isabella and Hunter. It was the special properties of the Predator blood that gave these two characters a prolonged life. This would benefit Hunter Borgia, as he was born a weak and sick infant. He would have died early on if it weren't for the Predator's blood, which made him stronger. As Bruno's henchmen started to arrive, the injured Predator tries to escape, but leaves behind some equipment. During his attempts of escaping, he ends up falling through a roof and is trapped. Out of desperation, Scarface activates the self-destruct device on his ship. The explosion wipes out Niue City, but he survived this act. In doing so, he brought shame to himself, and his clan arrives to pick him up. He is then sentenced to a planet full of hostile creatures. He is left to defend himself, and his clan leaves. But after 100 years, they return, and they find he is still alive after only using his wrist blades and spear weapon. Now, during the time he destroyed Niue City, some of his technology was left behind, and the Borgia Industries got a hold of it and started to use it for their own purposes. The city was then rebuilt mostly with the help of Borgia Industries and was renamed to Neonopolis. During this time, a previous predator group was sent in, but they were captured by Borgia Industries and taken away for experiments. So the Darkblade clan gave Scarface a chance to redeem himself by locating his technology, destroying all traces of it, killing the humans who used it, and also try to find the missing predator hunting party. At this point in the story, Hunter Borgia would pass down control of his company to his daughter, Lucretia Borgia. When he arrived to Neonopolis, he fought through a voodoo gang named Les Serviteurs, killing them all and even defeated the city's police force. He located the ship belonging to the previous hunting party. It was underneath an abandoned church. But first, he had to battle against the Dead Men gang. After they were defeated, he had the opportunity to escape the planet in a recovered ship, but instead chose to resume his original mission in order to reclaim his honor. At this point, another gang named the Juvenite Pack 9 have declared war on Don Giovanni and have started an attack on his compound. He then tracked down Don Giovanni, who was an Italian mob boss. Scarface was able to kill them all, along with Giovanni and his personal bodyguard, Vinny. After this battle, he retrieves his glaive weapon. After this event, another gang named Los Matadores, led by El Hongo, moved in and tried to take control of the streets. With no more competition from the Dead Man or the Voodoo Gang, they were confident to be the strong arm of the streets. But they later come across skinned bodies and realize something else is in the city. El Hongo contacts Lucretia about the situation, but his request for assistance is turned down. But most of his group gets killed off by Scarface. Later on, El Hongo panics and warns Lucretia that Los Matadores have evacuated the city in fear of El Demonio Invisible. She sends Victor along with the machine men, who are cybernetically enhanced mercenaries, but they all die when they encounter Scarface. El Hongo then runs to the docks to seek the safety of Baby Blue and her working girls. Scarface then disables the power here and kills off everyone, including Baby Blue. El Hongo tried to run away during this, but is tracked by the Predator and killed. Scarface also managed to destroy a shipment of Borgia Industries, which angers Lucretia even more. He then jumps onto a truck and sneaks into a depot where Lucretia is. He fights off a group of cyborgs called the Monster Squad. These enemies are equipped with powerful weapons and are heavily armored, but Scarface defeats them all. But then, an army of these cyborgs appears and overwhelms him. He is captured and taken to a laboratory. This would not be the end of Scarface. He used all of his strength to free himself. Along the way, he found his weapons and freed some other captured predators. This is when Lucretia releases 3 brainwashed predators in an attempt to stop Scarface. 2 predators named Longspear and Swiftknife are killed, but Stoneheart escapes. During this event, Hunter Borgia was preparing himself to fight against this predator when the time arrived. Scarface then travels to Lucretia's penthouse and battles against her Ronin bodyguards, a trio of trained assassins that have sworn to die protecting Lucretia. They are not killed, but are only defeated in battle. As Lucretia makes her escape, Scarface tracks her down to the building where Mother is. Now Mother is a central control system for all of Neonopolis. He battles through a pack of advanced Ulysses robots, more Monster Squad members, and then fights Stoneheart in a virtual replica of the church from 1930 when he fought against Bruno Borgia. He defeats his Yautja brother and then finds out that Mother is actually Isabella Borgia. She survived 100 years by the use of Scarface's blood. Scarface is then dropped into a trap and battles against the xenomorph species. He makes his way back up to her chamber and kills Mother with his spear weapon. Lucretia then runs off trying to find Hunter Borgia and ends up interrupting his genetic augmentation process. Hunter had become so obsessed with the predators that he in fact transformed himself into a predator. Hunter kills Lucretia in a fit of rage, and then her body is found by her Ronin bodyguards. This is when Scarface plays back something in Lucretia's voice and convinces the bodyguards to fight against Hunter. When the bodyguards are killed off, Scarface fights against Hunter on top of Bruno's statue located on the roof of the building. Scarface defeats him and rips his head off. This is when his clan arrives to pick him up. Now, after this, we see members of Yautja talking to Mr. Wayland about a successful buyout of Borgia Industries. The merging of both companies would now make them the dominant supplier of technology and weapons. Now, with Isabella being destroyed, a new host had to be selected as the biological computer known as Mother. The new host chosen would turn out to be Lucretia. And this ends the story of Scarface and Predator Concrete Jungle. Now, this is a Predator I wanted to cover for a long time, since I've uploaded a lot of videos about this game back in 2009. It had a lot of cool unlockable upgrades and skins from other movies. I had a lot of fun with the game, and I think the story was really well done. And after 10 years, I was really hoping we'd get another game like this, or at least a remastered version. So this game was playable on the Xbox original console and on the PlayStation 2. It is also playable on the Xbox 360 with backwards compatibility if you still plan to get your hands on it. So what did you think about the story around Scarface in this video game? Did you like it? Put your thoughts in the comment section. There are so many stories within the Predator universe. If we branch out from the films, there's a lot of topics we can discuss. Resources like comic books, interviews, deleted scenes, novels, and video games all give us different aspects of the Predator society. If you want to see more videos like this, then subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching. My name is Carlos, or Acid Glow, and I'll see you in the next video.